Decades ahead of its time, an intricately detailed, gorgeously executed game, one of the biggest playing surfaces to hit retail, possessing a marbleized engine of destruction powered by gravity, activated by malice. With tactile gameplay unlike anything that came before, is it archaeology? Is it tomb raiding? Either way, it belongs in a museum. Hi, I'm Dan Larson, and this is the history of Fireball Island. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this video. Click the link in the description below and use code TOYGALAXY for $5 off your order today. I've been all around this office and people are always asking me, Dan, what are you eating for breakfast? Is that a sweet, fruity, ring-shaped cereal reminiscent of the kind of cereal we used to eat when we were kids? And you know what? They're exactly right. It's called Magic Spoon, and it delivers that same breakfast fun, flavor, and experience you had when you were a kid. Because Magic Spoon has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 to 5 net grams of carbs in each serving. A scant 140 calories, it's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, and soy-free. Everyone is different, every diet is different. Magic Spoon is something that can fit in anywhere, anytime. Eat it for breakfast, as a snack, for lunch, as a snack, for dinner, as a snack. It travels easy so you can make sure you always have something to eat when you're on the go. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee, so if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. And don't forget, Magic Spoon ships to Canada and the UK. Click the link below and use my code TOYGALAXY for $5 off your very own variety box and choose from birthday cake and all of Magic Spoon's best-selling flavors like cocoa, cookies and cream, and maple waffle. That's magicspoon.com/TOYGALAXY to save $5 off your order today, and thanks again to Magic Spoon. Fireball Island is a massive tabletop board game originally released by Milton Bradley in 1986, a direct result of the pop culture phenomenon that arose from movies like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Players compete to steal a massive cultural relic for fun and profit. Somewhere in an unnamed body of water sits an island notorious for 2 things. 1, an ancient monument to vul-kar, a giant stone head sitting atop the island carved presumably by the native inhabitants a long time ago. And 2, the fireballs that vul-kar's monument launches out of its mouth to deter tourists, archaeologists, and thieves alike. And by deter, I mean immolate, crush, kill. Send a message to all who might attempt to remove vul-kar's massive gemstone from the island that your wish to get rich or die trying is about to come true. Play begins with the rotating vul-kar head possessing the gemstone and armed with fireballs at the highest elevation. Each of the 2 to 4 players selects a token and takes turns rolling a 6-sided die traversing the winding paths toward the center of the board, the top of the mountain where vul-kar sits. The goal is to get your token to the top via mountain paths and through caves tunneled below the surface, retrieve the gemstone, then make it back to the pier where a boat is waiting to take you back to the safety of a less fireball-saturated environment. But watch out, every time a player rolls a 1, a fireball barrels down one of the paths, delivering karmic justice, collapsing bridges and flattening treasure hunters. It's survival of the luckiest, and the reward is a life lived with the burden of your conscience and a lot of money. Fireball Island was produced by Milton Bradley, a company named after its founder, Milton Bradley. Originally established as a lithography shop in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1860, Bradley shifted to games as a way to diversify his offerings. His first game was the Checkered Game of Life, which sold nearly 50,000 units by 1861. That same year, the Civil War started, and Bradley developed a series of smaller, less expensive games for soldiers to play between battles in the real game of life. Milton Bradley, as a company, continued to produce the Checkered Game of Life, which would over time be shortened to just the Game of Life, as well as a multitude of other games like Go to the Head of the Class, Candyland, Operation, Twister, Battleship, Drive Ya Nuts, the Columbo Detective Game, Connect 4, Dark Tower, and Where's the Beef? In 1983, Milton Bradley expanded into electronic gaming through the purchase of General Consumer Electronics, makers of the Vectrex and Microvision gaming systems. In 1984, the company was purchased by Hasbro, till all are one. 1984 was also the year that Indiana Jones made his way to theaters for a second time. Temple of Doom brought Dr. Jones to India to help recover a Sankara stone for a village whose children were also being employed as slave labor to dig for the rest of the mystical stones. Temple of Doom was a sequel to 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark, helping to repopularize the treasure-hunting jungle adventure genre. 1984 also delivered Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner in Romancing the Stone. 1985 continued with Goonies. Fireball Island started as an idea conceived by Chuck Kennedy. In an interview with Mojo Nation in 2018, he talked about how it evolved. As a child, he was a very hands-on, creative kid whose parents encouraged him to make stuff. He studied art in college and quickly got a job working at a toy company called Applause. While he was working at Applause in Woodland Hills, California, he was able to visit Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment studio. Spielberg, of course, the director of both Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. It was visiting Amblin Entertainment that Kennedy says inspired him to do something big, but also something that wouldn't conflict with the work he was doing at Applause. He wanted to make, as he put it, an action-adventure board game that was totally different than anything else on the market. Kennedy reached back to his time in college working at a model shop creating samples of packaging using a vacuum-forming machine. He recalled that those packaging inserts, when turned upside down, frequently resembled tiered cakes, mountains, or Mayan temples. But it was years later, while working for Applause, that Kennedy found himself standing in front of a pyramid in Chichen Itza, that the idea came to him that this magnificent structure would, quote, make a great vacuum-formed centerpiece for a 3D adventure board game. 2 years later, he had a prototype in hand, as he had imagined, a stone temple in the center of the game board. Players would use their Explorer tokens and a 6-sided die to advance around the board, traversing rivers and chasms, racing to the top where the prize was waiting to be claimed. Kennedy attempted repeatedly to contact Milton Bradley to sell them the concept and was repeatedly turned away. They suggested he get in touch with an intellectual property licensing company called Anjar Company to represent him. After he sent Anjar the prototype, Anjar informed him that Milton Bradley wanted to buy the game.
Estos intrépidos héroes están a punto de participar en una alucinante aventura llena de opciones. Isla de Fuego. La bola de fuego está cayendo. ¿Quién logrará apoderarse de la joya del ídolo? Isla de Fuego, la aventura está sobre la mesa. De MB.
Milton Bradley bought Kennedy's concept, but their intent wasn't to simply reproduce it. They wanted to combine it with another concept they were already developing in conjunction with Marvin Glass Associates. Bruce Lund was working for Marvin Glass Associates at the time. In a 2016 interview with peopleofplay.com, Lund said that toy design was a welcome refuge after he graduated from college and was unable to find work as an industrial designer. It was Lund that introduced the gravity-powered play element and the concept for Fireball Island. Lund says that the vacuum-formed game board was inspired by vacuum-formed maps that better illustrate terrain. Marvin Glass & Associates was a toy and game design company notorious for their success, their secrecy, and products like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Lite-Brite, the Evel Knievel Stunt Cycle, and Simon. Particularly relevant to this story is that they are also the company who, in 1963, designed Mousetrap, a game with three-dimensional elements that relied on gravity-powered marbles as a gimmick. Gravity-powered marbles means you have to have a three-dimensional game board. That said, a three-dimensional game board also blurs the line between a game and a toy, attracting kids for the physical appearance as a plaything independent of its intended use within the gameplay. It was all of the plastic elements, the assembly and the activation of the Mousetrap that made Mousetrap so popular, the visual spectacle of the thing. Games with three-dimensional boards can become an environment for other toys. Not only did Fireball Island tap into the popularity of Indiana Jones, it was also a return to physical play for kids whose interest in video games may have lapsed after the entire video game industry cratered in the US in 1983 thanks to oversaturation and uninspired repetitive game design.
I warned you! Artillery!
Amidst a toy aisle filled with generation-defining toys like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats, Star Wars, and Masters of the Universe, Fireball Island didn't sell as well as some of the other games available at the time, not to mention the fact that the box measured nearly 30 inches across, 20 inches tall, and 4 inches deep. That's a retail shelf hog, fine for massive specialty stores like Toys R Us who could merchandise them to the ceiling, but a concern for smaller shops that were looking to get every dollar out of every inch. It would be decades before Fireball Island found its true fan base. Thanks to the internet bringing together gamers from all over the world and facilitating the purchase of original copies of the game through auction sites like eBay, Fireball Island not only retained fans who owned it as kids in the 80s, but found new fans as the decades went by. Some of those fans were so into vintage board games that they made their own company to focus on remastering them for a new, modern audience. Restoration Games was founded in 2016 by Justin Jacobson and Rob Davio, who were also able to bring Fireball Island into the new millennium through a 2018 Kickstarter campaign. Fireball Island was one of the most requested games after other projects like Stop Thief, Downforce, and Indulgence. Fans were dying for a more affordable version of the game than dealing with prices for the vintage game on the secondary market. On top of that, Restoration Games had already proven that they could not just return games, but refresh them. The Kickstarter version of Fireball Island came to life after fans raised nearly $3 million. Delivered in 2019, it includes a dynamic tiered base that can be disassembled for more efficient storage than the original. It features expansion packs, new board art, new box art, unique player tokens, and a new name. Fireball Island: The Curse of Vul-Kar is similar to the original, but delivers so much more fun and adventure. There's more gamesmanship this time around, more random pathways for the fireballs to travel. The expansion packs include pirate ships, snakes, and even bees.
Beads.
Bees?
Beads.
Beads?
Job's not on board.
In 2021, Restoration partnered with Goliath Games to create a version with a smaller footprint both on the gamer's table and on retail shelves. Exclusive to Target with an exclusive title, Fireball Island: Race to Adventure is a more arcade-style experience with fewer rules and faster gameplay. Milton Bradley was purchased by Hasbro in 1984. In 1991, Hasbro bought Parker Brothers, the other classic gaming giant. In 1998, Milton Bradley and Parker Brothers were merged to form Hasbro Gaming, officially closing the book on 138 years of gaming innovation.
No bees!
They don't allow you to have bees in here.
Fireball Island lives on today, more successful and enjoyed by more fans than when it was originally released. Videos of people playing the vintage and modern versions of the game have millions of views. It has become one of the most popular and notable games of all time, a relic from the past, salvaged from history, treasured by all who possess it. Thanks for watching. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Thank you very much to those of you who already are. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, if you would like early access to the videos ad-free, as well as behind-the-scenes features, sneak peeks at upcoming projects, and exclusive monthly podcast about the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy and let us know in the comments down below if you played Fireball Island back in the day, or if you only recently picked it up with one of the Restoration Games versions. While I have owned Fireball Island, I still haven't actually played it. The sample I had was just the box and the actual vacuum-formed game board. This was years before the Kickstarter, and I ended up selling it before I bothered to get the rest of the pieces. A wise man once said that the best way to avoid being fireballed is to avoid putting yourself in a fireballable position. You know who that man was? Henry David Thoreau. I know, I couldn't believe it when I read it on the internet. Cut.